Hey friends, let's get moving. Today I've got a head to toe flow for you, and you will need a blanket and a block. They're kind of optional, but I recommend them as a nice insurance policy just in case. So we're actually going to start with our feet. So maybe I should have called this toe to head flow, but that doesn't quite roll off the tongue in the same way. So start with your feet hip bone distance apart and your toes pointing straight ahead. And we're gonna roll onto the pinky toe side of the foot and roll back to the big toe side of the foot. And your knees might feel like they need to bend a little bit to access that range of motion in your feet and ankles, and that's fine. Just go back and forth. If you have bunions on the inside of your foot, and there's like a tender spot as you roll to the inside, just don't roll quite so far. We don't want to exacerbate those grumpy bunions. So now roll over to the pinky toe side of the foot. So here you've got pretty much most of the bottom of your foot is lifted away from the ground. Especially like the ball of your foot and the arch is all probably lifted away from the ground. And so now we're gonna roll down through the long bones of your feet, trying to do that one at a time. And that might be like a mental effort that doesn't necessarily manifest physically just yet, and that's fine. So we're just really slowly gonna try to articulate through the sole of the foot to get one long bone down at a time. And then when you feel like you've gotten all the way to kind of a flat foot, you'll notice that your arch is probably really lifted still. Go ahead and let that arch collapse and then roll into the pinky, or roll into the big toe side of the foot. So the outer edge of your foot is now lifted away from the ground. And now we're gonna do the same thing, really slowly trying to articulate through the long bones of the feet until we come back to the sole of the foot flat on the ground. So really slowly going back towards the pinky toe side of the foot. I'm looking at my feet because it helps my brain to connect with my feet a little bit better. Great. And then once you get there, again, you might feel like your arches are really lifted. So just go ahead and relax that effort through the feet now. And we're gonna pick the toes up away from the ground and put them back down. And lift the toes and put them back down. And lift the toes and spread the toes as far apart as you can. Get your monkey toe action. And then go ahead and put your toes back down. Now we're gonna rock over onto one foot. If you need to hold onto a wall or a chair for balance, please do that. Pick up one foot and you're just gonna circle through the ankle. Mine is doing some snap, crackle, pop. Go in the other direction as well. And then let's switch sides and do the other foot. Maybe just 3 complete rotations in each direction. Not too much work. And then put your feet back down and keep your heels on the ground and bend your knees forward. Let your knees go out forward over your toes as far as they can go. And when I do this, I kind of feel a little stretch through my Achilles tendon. That feels nice for me. Maybe that's something you feel too. And I also know that I can go further. I can send one knee further than the other. So I'm gonna let that knee go a little bit further. And then I might see if the other knee can catch up a little bit, but it can't. And then go ahead and straighten out your legs. Now we're gonna work on our hands, but we're gonna be super kind. And instead of doing full weight bearing with our hands on the ground, we're gonna come over to the wall. And so we're gonna put the hands at the wall a little bit lower than your shoulders. And I'm gonna walk my feet away a little bit more so that I'm in kind of a diagonal position. This, the more diagonal you are, the more load it's gonna put on your hands and wrists. So if you want less load on your hands and wrists, stand up a bit straighter with your feet closer to the wall. And you can always adjust as we get going here. So let's go ahead and start out by pressing through the fingertips, making sure that your fingertips are pointing up towards the ceiling. And then we're gonna try to get the elbow creases to point up towards the ceiling as well. It's okay if your elbows are bent a bit here. You wanna be able to see the color of the wall between your fingers. So we're gonna press through the long fingers, long and strong fingers, so that we can lift the heels of the hands away from the ground, away from the wall, and now it's just the fingertips that are there on the wall. We're gonna keep the fingers and the hands really long as we slowly let the palms and the heels of the hands find the wall again. Okay, so long fingers, long hands, push through the fingertips to get the palms away from the wall. It's just the fingertips on there now. And then we're really slowly gonna let the palms and the heels of the hands come back to the wall. Just 2 more of that. And for me, it's a lot harder than it looks. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling the burn in my hands and in my forearms. Okay, after that second one, so all we did was 4. After that second one, get your fingers long and strong again, elbow creases pointing up towards the ceiling, and then go ahead and press into the wall. So your shoulder blades are gonna move away from your spine. You're gonna get a little rounded as a result through the upper back, and you can let your gaze come down to the ground so that your neck doesn't feel super shortened in the back if that's uncomfortable. So press, 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 and see if you can get as much space in between your shoulder blades as possible. And then take a nice full breath in through your nose and feel your breath expand through that space even more in the back of your body. Can you direct your breath towards the back end of your rib cage in between your shoulder blades? Great job. Now, we're gonna start to find those muscles in between the shoulder blades. And so you might need to let your chest come a little bit closer to the wall so you can connect with those muscles. Start to squeeze your shoulder blades towards your spine. And as you start to squeeze your shoulder blades towards your spine, you might notice that your chest moves a bit closer to the wall. Try to keep your elbow creases pointing up towards the ceiling as much as possible. And then go ahead and relax that effort. We're gonna slide the hands down just a bit so that when you push your arms straight, you can bring your torso pretty close to parallel to the ground. If that feels good for your biomechanical body. If it doesn't feel super good, you can stay more at a 45-degree angle. That's totally fine. If this feels like it tugs at your hamstrings a little too much, just bend your knees, okay? So go ahead and press through your hands. We're kind of in a downward facing dog at the wall. And now I'm going to keep my left hand where it is. I'm gonna let my right arm drop and find the outside of my left leg. And I'm gonna let my right shoulder dip down. I'm gonna look out under my left arm. This is a great opportunity to check the status of your deodorant application. You can give a nice deep breath there to check that. Keep pressing through the left hand and then come back up, put the right hand back where it belongs, and we're gonna go over to the other side. Let the left arm fall and reach for the outside of the right leg. Let the left shoulder dip. Again, you can check the status in that right armpit, see how things are. And then bring the left hand back to the wall. So we're gonna keep both hands on the wall now, but we're gonna take our toes and point our toes to the left and bring a little bit of a bend into your knees so that you can kind of sink your hips. And here we're gonna try to get a nice little stretch through the left side of the body. So I'm sending my hips over to the right to help make that happen, and I'm looking out under my left arm. And then turn your toes back to center and right over to the right. Bend your knees, send your right hip backing away from your right shoulder. You can look underneath your right shoulder. Take a nice breath there, feeling the rib cage expand with the breath. And then point your toes straight ahead again. And now bring a little bend into your knees. Let your arms fall away from the wall. And if you want to let your torso round towards the ground, and if you want to release your head in a hanging kind of a position, a ragdoll kind of a position, you can. And just take a deep breath there. And let's go ahead and find our way down to the ground in hands and knees, all fours position. I'm gonna grab my blanket because you may have noticed that I have a lovely nebula of bruises on my knee. Thank you to my son for standing on my calf while I was kneeling. Motherhood. So be kind to your knees and use the blanket if you need to. And then go ahead and step your right foot towards the front of your mat. And so we're coming into a lunging position. Go ahead and lift your torso up away from the ground. And we're gonna scoop the tailbone under so that we can kind of activate or ignite the stretch in the front of the left hip and thigh. And then from here, you can take your pelvis forward, lunging forward any amount. My left hip and thigh are saying, hey, you're not going very far today. This is a good enough stretch. We're gonna stay here. So listen to that stretch sensation and only lunge as far as feels good. And let's just take a deep breath in here. And now reach your arms around back behind you. Oh, snap, crackle, pop through the shoulders. Bring your arms forward again. And then take your arms out wide and back behind you again. Maybe your hands are getting a little closer towards one another. Bring your arms forward. Take your arms back. Oh, go back and forth a few more times here. Maybe getting the hands a little closer together each time you go back. Great job. Now go ahead and let's release the hands down to the ground. So here you have a choice. You can stay in this low lunge position, or you can lift your left knee up and come into a high lunge position. If the ground feels too far away, go ahead and grab your block and place your left hand on your block. Take your right arm straight up as you twist your torso open to the right, towards your right leg. And then we're gonna take that right arm back around behind us and let it kind of hang out there behind your back. And then we're gonna invite the head and neck to do the same. So if your tendency when you're doing a twist is for your head to follow in the twist, if you notice that your gaze is looking up at the ceiling here, I'm gonna encourage you to dial that back to start. Just look at the room or the wall straight over to your right. And then let your head and neck wilt. Let your left shoulder come closer to your left ear. And because we have the right arm behind the back, you might feel kind of a yummy stretch in the right side of the neck. And feel free to explore that stretch with some gentle movements of your neck and head. All the while, your right leg is burning. Okay. So now go ahead and square your shoulders towards the ground. And if your back knee is lifted, lower it. Let's step back into an all fours position. Move your block if you need to. And take a deep breath in and out. Okay, other side. So step your left foot forward to the front of the mat. We're gonna lift the torso up. Again, we're gonna tuck the tailbone under just a bit so that we can really power up the stretch in the front of the right hip and thigh. And then again, you can take that lunge forward any amount. You can just move your pelvis forward any amount. If it's okay with your knee, if your knee doesn't feel cranky or painful when your knee goes in front of your ankle, that's fine. Whatever feels kind. Find what's kind. And so now take the arms back around behind you and see if you can catch your fingers. If you can't catch your hands, you can always use a towel or a belt or a yoga strap here. And go ahead and stretch the arms back behind you. Take a deep breath in, filling up your chest. And let it out. Now reach your arms forward and let your spine round. You can even bring your chin to your chest and then take your arms back behind you again. Find your fingers if you can and stretch the arms back. Another breath into the chest. And release the arms. Let's put the right hand down on the ground or on the block. And again, if you want to keep that right knee on the ground for low lunge here, you can. Maybe you are wanting to focus more on the stretch in your neck that we're going to get to. And that means that you keep your knee on the ground so that you can focus on that. But maybe the stretch in your neck isn't as important and you can focus on it while you also are in the high lunge. It's your choice. I'm gonna come into the high lunge, and then we're gonna take the left arm up towards the ceiling as we rotate the chest and torso to the left. Again, if your tendency is to look up when you come into the twist, don't. Dial your gaze back down so that you're straight ahead. We're gonna take that left arm around behind the back, and then just let your neck and head relax. I am one of those people that carry all or the majority of their tension and stress in the neck and shoulders. Maybe you're one of those people too. So this feels really good for me. And again, you can explore that stretch sensation with some gentle movements through your neck and head. Great job. Square your shoulders towards the ground, and then you can release your hands down, drop your back knee, and let's come into all fours. One more time, take a deep breath in and out. Okay, I'm gonna get this blanket out of here because we are coming down to the belly. So join me in a prone position. Okay, so from here, get situated, and we're gonna take the arms not straight out in front, but out a little bit at a diagonal. So it's kind of like a Y. And then we're gonna give thumbs up to the ceiling, okay? So you can start with your forehead on the ground, but I am keeping my head up a bit so that so I don't sound like, you know, Charlie Brown's teacher with the microphone there. So here, let's go ahead and get your torso organized. Can you sense if you're completely square with the ground, or does it feel like you're kind of twisted or rolled in one direction more than the other, on one side more than the other? Just let the pressure of your body against the ground guide you as you figure that out, as you map what's happening in your body. And then bringing your attention more down to your lower spine and to your pelvis, we're going to purposefully try to keep the lower spine in less of a curve. So we are going to try to avoid letting the tailbone lift towards the ceiling a lot. Instead, we're going to try to angle the tailbone down towards the heels. And that's going to just help us to keep the lower back a little bit longer in this position. And you might also Draw your low belly up away from the ground just to give a little bit more support. Now, your low belly probably won't actually lift away from the ground, but it's almost like you can kind of imagine that you're trying to lift your underwear away from the ground. So it's that low part of the abdomen in between the navel and the pubic bone. And I've just got a little gentle hug up away from the ground there. Okay, so let's get moving now that we've set everything up. So you're gonna take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, you're gonna lift your chest, head, and arms away from the ground. And once you lift your chest, your shoulders, your head up, see if there's any room to get your arms a little bit higher. It feels like there's big cement blocks on those arms. And then go ahead and release it all back down. Inhaling, and then as you exhale, to lift. Once you lift, you're again gonna try to get the arms just a little bit higher, and then come on back down. Inhale to lower, exhale to lift. Keep going. 2 more. Trying to get the arms just a little bit higher as you exhale and lift this time. Last one. Great job. Go ahead and relax down. You can make a pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on the backs of your hands. Maybe rock your hips a little from side to side. Enjoy a little breath. Great job. Okay, now let's go ahead and plant the hands right next to the shoulders. Curl your toes under. We're gonna try to push up into all fours. You can stop through a plank if you would like, if that feels good for your body. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, push. Let's see if I can do this. Whew. So I have been less active for the past few months because of my appendectomy, and things are not as easy as they once were. Okay, so here in all fours, I'm gonna grab my blanket again and pad under my knees, and we're gonna turn our attention to our hips a little bit. So if your wrists don't like when your palms are flat on the ground, that is fine. Just come up onto your fists, or you can also drop down onto your forearms. That might change the kind of like gravity and the way things go, but you can always just try it. You're both the scientist and the experiment. Okay, so from here, in all fours, we're going to pick up the left knee and take the left leg straight out to the side, fire hydrant style, and then bring the left leg back in to meet the right. Maybe you can tap your left foot to your right foot, left knee to right knee. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. Either one is fine, but we are trying to lift the knee and the ankle at the same rate. Lifting and lowering at the same rate. So it's not looking like the knee is higher than the ankle or the ankle is higher than the knee. Trying to lift at the same rate. Now, this action might be all that you can focus on, and that is totally fine. Stay there. But if you feel like you have any extra awareness to spare, shift your attention to the right hip and knee. Notice if your right hip and knee are leaning to the right as you lift your left leg up. And if that's the case, can you hug your right hip straight over your right knee as you lift the left leg out? And you can always look back, drop your chin and look back behind your arms to kind of check your progress there. Definitely a little harder. Last one. Okay, put your left knee down. Take a break from your hands if you need to. And then let's do the other side. Okay, put your hands back down and right leg lifts out to the side. Knee and ankle lifting at the same rate. So you can always look back to check. And again, this might be enough work for you, for your body, for your brain in this position. And if that's true for you, more power to you. You stay honest and focus on that. If you have extra attention to spare, look at your left hip and notice if it's way out to the left. And mine is. And I do feel like I have a little extra awareness to spare. So I'm gonna really try to hug my left knee, or my left hip straight over my left knee as I take my right leg out to the side. And when I do that, I feel the muscles on my outer left hip fire up, and I also feel my core fire up in a different way, my abdomen fire up in a different way. Last one. Great job. Okay, get off your hands, shake them out, shake anything that you want to shake. Okay, and we're gonna come to a seated position now. And I'm gonna fold my blanket in half, and I'm gonna sit on the edge of my blanket. Go ahead and straighten your legs out in front of you to begin with. Okay, so from here, take your arms up, reach them way back behind you, and find the ground. You're gonna have to lean back a little bit. So I have my fingertips pointing towards my pelvis. That's one option. Another option is to have your fingertips pointing out side to side. You can also be up on your fists if that feels better for your wrists. It's your choice. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in here, and then as you exhale, dig into your heels and lift your hips away from the ground any amount. Great. And then let's go ahead and set the hips back down. That's your inhale. As you exhale, lift, pressing through the heels, maybe feeling the buttocks firing up. Inhale down, exhale to lift. For 3, 2, and this is the last one. Great job. Go ahead and lower down. Had a leg quake there. Okay, let's go ahead and cross the right leg over the left leg. So we're keeping the left leg out straight. Reach your arms up and see if you can let your ribs settle. And as you let your ribs settle, can you feel your pelvis settle, your sit bones settle? Okay, and then from here, bend your elbows to 90 degrees. So we're coming into cactus arm position here. And then from here, we're gonna take a breath in. As you exhale, let your waist twist you to the right, any amount. Inhale back to center. Exhale. The action comes, the twisting action is coming from your waist. Inhale back to center. One more. And then once you get to where you're going here, we're gonna take the right hand down to the ground, and you have some options. Maybe you're just gonna kind of lazily drape your left arm over your right knee, or maybe you're gonna give your right leg a hug with your left arm. It's your choice. And then find your long spine, including the spine of your neck, not just the spine that's through your torso. And then turn your gaze in the same direction that your left foot is pointing. And take a breath in and out here. Great, unwind. Extend your right leg. Take a full breath in and out. And then cross your left leg over your right leg. Lift your arms up. Let your ribs settle. Let your sit bones settle. And then bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Cactus arms. Take a breath in. And let your waist twist your torso to the left, any amount. And inhale, come back to center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, back to center. Last one. Okay, so from here, left hand comes to the ground, and then your choice on the right arm. Maybe you're just gonna let it flop onto the left leg, or maybe you're gonna wrap your arm around your thigh. And then when you do that, so again, you're not really trying to crank your torso any further into the twist. You're just kind of helping your body, you're giving your body like a mold to rest into. And so from there, find your long spine and then turn your gaze to the same direction that your right foot is pointing. Take a few breaths. And then go ahead and release, unwind, straighten your legs, take a full breath in and out. Okay, we're gonna lose the blanket if you're sitting on one, and we're gonna lower down to lay on the back. Okay, when you get down to the back, make sure that you can touch the backs of your heels with your hands if that works for your proportions. And then rest your hands on your hip points. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, press through your feet and lift your hips away from the ground. So let your hands resting here on your hip points be kind of a tactile cue that we want to have a level on our pelvis, and we want the bubble right in the middle. Okay, so keep your hips level, and then you've got some choices here. One choice is to try lifting your left heel and then your right heel. So you're marching, but you're keeping the balls of the feet on the ground. That's one option. Another option is to pick the whole foot up and march in that way. Either way, you're keeping the bubble on your pelvic level in the middle. If you can, check in with your neck muscles. Make sure that the muscles on the front of the neck are relaxed. Keep breathing. For 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and push through your heels to get your hips any amount higher. Reach your tailbone towards your knees. Reach your knees away from your head. And then let's roll down through the spine, all the way down to the back. And we're gonna bring the soles of the feet together and the knees apart here. If you want to reach around for your blanket or your block and use that as a pillow, please feel free to do that. Go ahead and let your eyes close and find a comfortable resting position for your arms. Maybe that's a little bit away from the sides with the palms facing up, or maybe you have your hands resting on your belly or your chest. Whatever feels kind of soothing, choose that. Enjoy slowing down. Take one more deep breath in and let it out with a big sigh. If you want to stay in this position forever, please feel free to stay as long as you like. Maybe reach for your phone and set a timer if you have somewhere to be. Otherwise, if you're ready to move on with your day, let's go ahead and bring the hands under the thighs and help the knees back towards one another. Take your time rolling over to one side and slowly sitting up. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you feel well moved from head to toe. I'll see you next time.